I am Flavia Bellieni Zimmermann from the Australian Institute of International Affairs in Western Australia, and today we have with us Mr. John West. John West, he teaches Asia Development at Sophia University in Tokyo, and today we are going to be discussing his book, Asia Century on a Knife Edge. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Flavia.
Mr. West, can you please explain why the Asia Century is a questionable concept?
Firstly, I must recognise that most Asian economies have grown and developed very, very well over the last 70 years. And what they've gone through really is a miracle in some ways. This has led many people to believe that the future will also be as rosy as the past, and that the future will be an Asian century in the 21st century. But according to my analysis, there are many social, political and economic factors that mean that the future might be more challenging than the past. And so I think that an Asian century is possible, but it's certainly not guaranteed.
And in your opinion, what are the main social, political and economic factors hindering the development of Asia?
I'll highlight three factors for you, and I think the first thing is that a few decades ago, a number of Asian economies like China have opened up their markets to do business, and that's helped promote economic development. But over the last 10, 15 years, economic reform has really slowed down, particularly in China. That's one of the reasons why China's economic growth has slowed down. The second thing we have in Asia's most advanced economies is ageing populations. And China in particular, its working age population has been declining for the last 6 years. That's a drag on the economy. And other countries having the same ageing population are countries like Korea, Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong. So ageing populations is a second factor. The third factor, which is very important I think, is politics. There are very few real democracies in Asia. And people are always tempted by authoritarian regimes as being an easy, efficient way of doing business. But I think that authoritarian politics are not good in terms of human development, human rights, and also if you want an innovation-driven economy, you need to have economic and freedom as well. Mm-hmm. So they're the three factors I would highlight.
Thank you so much. And Mr. West, if you could please just expand a little bit more, in your opinion, what role China and India will play in the development of Asia and Asia in the 21st century?
Well, already by some measures, China would be the world's biggest economy. And in the coming decades, India will become the world's second biggest economy. And these being big like that, size matters. And so for these countries, they have big markets which attract other economies to do business. They also have financial power. China has lots of financial power to set up things like the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank and the Belt and Road Initiative. And also, big countries have lots of finance which they can use to build up their militaries, become militarily strong. And so being big means that they can be powerful. But at the same time, I think it's important to recognise that both of these economies, they're backward compared with the West in terms of GDP per capita, in terms of economic, business and technological sophistication, also in terms of human rights, in terms of democracy. And so they are big but backward.
Thank you very much. And in your opinion, is there a relative decline in US power in the world? And how the role of the US as a global power plays out with the rise of China, and will China one day play the role that the US has in the international arena?
There's no doubt that there's a relative decline in the US, not an absolute decline, a relative decline, because other people are getting bigger. Mm-hmm. And that means that, particularly in the Asia Pacific, but also in the world, the US is less powerful compared with other countries. But the US is also still very, very powerful. It's the innovation centre of the world, it's the technology centre for the world, and also very importantly, it's the centre for universal values. The US for the last 100 years has been promoting democracy, human rights, market economy. And these are factors which are very important in terms of soft power and the attractiveness of the US. China is very big and is powerful in that sense. However, China doesn't agree with these values. In fact, at the moment, China is fighting against the infiltration of Western values. They want to stop Western values getting into China. And so China is big and will become bigger, but I don't see many other countries wanting to follow China in the same way that we've followed the US. And as we were discussing before, part of this is the lack of soft power in the case of China. People are not attracted by Chinese values because China's mainly interested in China.
Thank you very much. And wrapping up our interview, do you think that perhaps India, being a democracy, that could eventually be a global power playing a similar role of the US, and to which extent China might rebrand itself and perhaps become a more open society?
According to my analysis, India will in fact in the 21st century become the world's biggest economy. It will overtake China. By the end of the century, India's population could be 1.5 billion, whereas China's might only be 1 billion. And already India is growing faster than China is. So I see lots of potential in India. India has many challenges. It still has a lot of poverty and other challenges, but I see lots of potential in India. And India will become a much more influential player in the world. China, the Chinese Communist Party's main goal is to stay in power. And as the economy struggles in the period ahead, they will become tighter, more controlling, more repressive. So it's hard to sort of see a positive, future for China politically in terms of international relations. But history shows that things never stay the same forever. And even in China, things don't stay the same forever. And so we could well have some political surprises in the future, and we'll have to all be ready for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being with us.
No, thank you very much, Flavia, for the interesting interview, and it's a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. And for more information, please visit our website, www.internationalaffairs.org.au. Thank you.